In the shadow of an antiquated light in a well-trod alley in Barcelona, he plays the saxophone, like a coyote baying at a full moon. We understand. Music is not bound by language. He wails and weeps into and out of brass, the clear notes sailing around dark corners, calling to native and tourists alike. Well, yes, there's a hat at his feet, a few coins beg to merge with more, but he doesn't play for money. He plays because it's who he is and what he wants to be. I write because I don't know how to play the saxophone. Okay.
Did you wrote that?
Yeah, I wrote that.
That's awesome.
So that's why we just sort of have to. My name is Elyce Melmon, and I'm a local California playwright. I've been writing all of my life. I think it started as a child when I liked to pretend.
Today, I talked with my grandma about her passion for writing, one of her successful plays, and some advice she has for people interested in playwriting. She has been writing plays since she was a little girl, but her first real experience writing a play was for her English degree master's thesis. From there, she went on to writing a children's TV show, and throughout her career as an English teacher, she has been writing short stories, poetry, plays, and textbooks on creative writing. The play that she is most proud of is A King's Legacy, which is incidentally about the writing of the King James Bible.
I'm fascinated by this idea that 54 men got together as a committee to revise the Bible. I said, I can't imagine what one of their meetings would be like discussing the Bible. And I think it would make a very funny 10-minute play.
Froth of a nail. She sided with the bishops, placated the Catholics.
The Catholics hated her. The king is determined to make peace.
It was a delight to see what had been, had existed only in my head, really come to life. And King James, to me, was just the ultimate dramatic character.
Majesty.
Must you spoil my meal?
You're not being reasonable. Please hear me out.
This is the last decent meal I'll have for a long time. The English have no concept of food or drink.
You will be well cared for.
His flaws were so exciting. And yet I thought he accomplished a great deal.
I also wanted to get some tips out of her on how to write a play, but that was easier said than done. I guess what kind of tips would you have for someone who wanted to write a play?
What I would say is I don't believe in the tips, so I would say forget about it. Almost everybody that I've read says you have to sit down every day. You have to really practice. You have to write every day, and you should keep it on a schedule and all that. I think that's a lot of baloney,
Eventually, though, she did open up with some of her secrets on how to write a good play.
Number one, it takes a conflict. If you don't have a problem, you don't have a play. So you have to have a conflict. Every play has to have some humor, and writing humor is really hard to do. In the first version of the King James Bible, it was not thou shalt not commit adultery. It was thou shalt commit adultery. And there were other mistakes like that were really very funny. A writer has to be observant. So somebody said, pay attention to what you pay attention to. You really need to love your characters, even the villains. If you want to write, you have to read. And you have to read critically. You need to go to the theater. You need to see plays and read plays. You don't ever write. You don't write a play. You don't write a story. You rewrite. It's all rewriting. It's all in the editing. And sometimes it's brutal.
So how do you know when you're done?
Yeah, you get sick of it. When you're finally so, when you're just so wiped out, you've done what you can with it, and you say, I'm not going to look at this again, then you're done.
So I'm going to take my grandmother's advice, but I'll leave you with one of her thoughts that gives a little perspective on our current situation.
In fact, I think a little bit about how we're all isolated with this terrible pandemic. And I had a similar situation as a child with a polio epidemic. And there was nothing to do except pretend. And I like that.